Welcome back to the Brent Hazzard Show. I'm Brent Hazzard, and as always, I have my co-host, Malcolm Johnson. Malcolm, what's going on?
Man, I'm swag today. Call me swag.
Wait. You weren't swag before?
I was, but I'm more swag now.
Today?
Yes, sir.
Well, I would say as a co-host, you're a 5. But as a producer, you bring some heat. You're a 9 as a producer. We just might need to put you behind the scenes. But we are joined by one of the best supervisors in Hinds County, Supervisor Robert Graham. How you doing, Supervisor?
I'm doing great.
Nice to have you on. For those who do not know, if you have heard, when I was prosecuting from 2008 to 2016, the only supervisor I saw supporting the prosecutors physically in the courtroom was the gentleman to my left. So I do appreciate that. And he is one of the few people I can say that's in public office around here who's a scholar and a gentleman. Now, wait a minute. Let me ask you this. How many years have you been in public office, Supervisor?
Well, I've worked for the police department for 33 years, and I've worked for the Board of Supervisors. This is my 4th term, about 15 years.
Okay. Any end in sight?
No, I don't want the end to be in sight. I enjoy what I'm doing. I enjoy getting up going to work every day.
What do you see going forward with now? We're going to get into this a little bit.
Okay.
With the city and state fighting, what role do you see the county playing, whether it's water or any other issues between the state and the city? What role does the county try to play, or does it try to play a role?
Well, I think we should play a role. And if we play a role, I think the role should be that of peacemaker. I have no problem with the governor. The board has no problem with the governor, with the lieutenant governor, or the Speaker of the House. We're on speaking terms with all of them, and we have not had any issues. And if we're going to get any problem resolved in the city, the county, or the state, we have to work with them. Part of being a politician is knowing the art of compromise. And sometimes you have to compromise with people that you don't agree with. But in order to get things done, you have to do that.
But you're talking from an intelligent, wise position, and it seems like we're losing that, not only, locally, but, nationwide.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I think that I think you're right, but at the same time, you have to understand, or the individuals involved have to understand what the overall ending goal is. The ending goal is to get the job done and to work for the people. I know everyone that's a politician is always saying work for the people, but you really have to do this. When people get disenfranchised with a politician, it's because they don't see any result of what they're doing. I want people to see the results of what I'm doing. I want them to wake up in the morning and see a paved street. I want to see their garbage picked up. And those are the type of things where people actually, they see the results of their money, their tax dollars, and that's what they really want.
Oh, I'm going to ask you now, and let me go ahead and say this. Okay. Obviously, there might be some negotiations we don't know about, and so a no comment is perfectly acceptable in your position. Is there anything going on where the county is actively involved in negotiations with the EPA with the water?
No.
Okay. Is there anything going on where the state and the county are actively negotiating about the water?
No.
Okay. Have you been approached about being on any the county nominating anybody about being on any boards about the water?
No.
Okay. In your position, would you be for or against some sort of board that the county should put? Is it your position the county should participate on some sort of board regulating the city's water?
Most definitely. There are over 245,000 residents of Hinds County, and that's the entire county. Everyone benefits. So the water goes down to Byram. It comes all the way back, and then people in Byram depend upon the water, and people in the city of Jackson depend upon the water. So the county has to play a role in order to get everything, I guess, mutually agreed on to where the water will work just as well for the people in Byram as it does for the people in Jackson. So to answer your question, yes, we should play a part.
A to F, what grade would you give the mayor for his role in this water crisis?
Well, I can't really give him a grade, which is a good political answer.
Yes, and that's the world you have to live in. I understand it.
Well, the thing that I would say is that he has a very tough job. The governor has a very tough job. The only grade I want to give everyone is we have to have a passing grade for the people of the city of Jackson and for Hinds County, which means the mayor and the governor, they have to get together for that passing grade. As a politician, I've had to, in a lot of instances, go into rooms with people that I did not agree with. We've had to hug and kiss and make up in order to get the job done. I learned that from a very good politician, Doug Anderson, who said a lot of times you don't agree, but you have to come to an agreement. And so that means you have to compromise. And sometimes you have to leave you and check your ego at the door.
Understanding the history of Mississippi, that everything goes back to race on some levels.
Right.
Do you think the current issues Jackson's facing is because of economics? People are just leaving a deteriorating city. Do you think it's because it's the largest Democratic population in a Republican state? Or do you think it's race?
I could say that it's a lot of both, or all of them, and it's a little of both. I think the majority of what's going on in the city of Jackson and Hinds County is purely economics. When people leave and they take their money with them, they take their businesses with them, then what do you have left? We have places all up and down I-55. We had a restaurant on I-55 on the East Frontage Road. That was a very popular restaurant, and when it left, then another restaurant left. Then on the west side of the interstate, other restaurants started to leave. So when that starts to happen, people start to leave. And when people don't feel safe, for 30 years I worked with the police department in Jackson, and when people don't feel safe and the money starts to leave, they feel powerless to do anything about it, so they feel like they have to leave too. They're going to follow the money and follow the areas where crime is occurring less. But even more so than that, I remember a study that I read when I first became supervisor. There's something just as important as economics and crime when it determines whether or not a city is a failure or whether or not a city succeeds. And a lot of people don't look at it this particular way. It's your school district. People are not going to send their kids to schools where the school district is failing. They want their children to have good educations, or to have a good education. They can deal with some of the crime because crime is universal. It goes everywhere. It follows you. It goes across the county line as well. They can deal with the economics because it goes up and down. But they have to have a good school where their kids can go to school and they can feel safe.
Do you believe, well, in Hinds County, I know you look at the data more than I do, and I know this gentleman down here looks at the data. It would appear that Clinton, Byram, and Terry are growing. Is that correct assessment?
Every year we get a tax roll from the tax assessor, and it gives us a detailed account. I wish I'd known that you were going to ask that question. I could have brought it and shared it with everyone, but it works on several different levels when you start talking about growth. It deals with how many car tags are bought, how many trailer tags are bought, how many trailers are bought, how many residential homes are being built, how many commercial buildings are being built. And then it takes all of those factors and it gives us a plus or minus factor. And based upon that plus or minus factor, what I can remember is Terry and Clinton are most definitely growing.
Malcolm, I did not mean to completely isolate you, but since we have such a great guest.
Yes, sir.
What is Clinton doing? What is Terry doing and Byram's doing that Jackson's not?
Well, it's less shooting in Clinton. There's less shooting in Terry. And there's less shooting in Byram. Crime drives businesses out. Something else you don't see in those three places. Supervisor Graham will tell you, you don't see homelessness problem in Clinton. You don't see a homeless problem in Terry. And I double dare you to go to richest white town and Start standing at the red light with some signs saying, I need $3. I promise you, Richard White gonna give you a free ride either across to the Rankin County side or back to Jackson.
Yeah.
So that have a lot to do with, and that drives businesses out. Homelessness and crime will drive businesses out quick as anything.
I've heard of Terry for years, but I just got an opportunity to go out there and visit. I was very, very pleasantly surprised how nice it is.
Yes.
And, it seems like when a lot of people are complaining about the plight or issues in Hinds County or Jackson, they're ignoring Clinton, Terry, and Byram.
Right.
And if that can be, if Clinton High Schools, like you said, I think they're still rated A.
Yes.
And then now JPS deserves some credit. They got them up to a C.
Right.
But like you said, to me, the teachers or the administrators are doing so much more than teaching. They're policing, babysitting. What are the top 3 or 4 things that Jackson needs to do to fight its crime problem, Supervisor?
Well, working for the police department for 30 years, I worked under 13 different police chiefs. And I saw every type of program come, every type of program leave, every type of program be tried. Some of them succeeded, some of them didn't. But to answer your question, it's very simple. More officers on the street.
That's right.
Having those officers driving and patrolling in the neighborhoods. Neighborhood policing is more than just a theme. It's something that's actually done, and there's a way to do it. But if you have more police officers, that's one thing. But not only that, you have to be able to retain your police officers. When a 20-year police officer walks out of the door, it's going to take you 40 years to replace him. Because of the fact that you got 20 years leaving, and then it's going to take this guy 20 years to get 20 years. So you've actually lost 40 years. And some of those older police officers just knew how to deal with people, to talk with people. I'm not saying the younger ones don't know how to do that, but they do not have the experience, a lot of them. And it takes years and years to get that experience.
Malcolm, I don't want to ask our elected official this, so I ask you. Do you believe the current mayor does not like police or doesn't want a strong police force?
Well, what I'm going to say is that we have a serious problem in our police department. And most of the time, that's up under the administration. Whether who's the mayor, that police department, that public works director, and other entities of the city falls up under the mayor. So I will say that the police department is one that the mayor oversights is the police department.
Supervisor, speaking of policing, the current Hinds County Sheriff, to me, seems to be doing an outstanding job. How do you feel about Sheriff Jones?
Well, I think he is doing a great job. The reason why I feel like he's doing such a great job was I worked at the police academy for 12 years and I was his trainer. So that's one of the...
We found the secret ingredient.
That's the secret ingredient, is the secret sauce. Yes, he's doing a great job. He cares about people. He's out there riding around. He's working night and day. His officers like him. He's coming over to the board meetings, every board meeting, telling us he needs more money.
That's right.
The average sheriff's deputy is only making about between $29,000 and $32,000 a year. So he's having trouble competing. Well, let me change that word. He's having trouble retaining his officers, not trying to compete with another department, but retaining his particular officers because they can very easily go to the Capitol Police and make over $40,000 a year, and that's what they're doing. The Sheriff's Department's losing all of their good people to the Capitol Police. Kudos to the Capitol Police. We're not competing against them. We feel like every law enforcement officer, or I do, feel like that they should be making at least $40,000 a year. But we, the Board of Supervisors, at my last board meeting, I brought up an issue to give the Sheriff's Department an additional amount of money to give them all a raise. Now, whether or not that gets passed, I don't know. It takes three. In my business, 3 or 2 means 0. You got to have 3. And as of right now, I don't know if I have 3 to get it done.
Are you free to address the public works issue, or is that still under?
Yeah, no, I'm free to do it. The public works, those people that work in that area, they deserve a raise. They deserve a very good raise because they're doing the grunt work. They're doing the work that no one else will do. They're out after a hurricane or a tornado, severe weather, clearing things out of trees, out of a roadway where people can go to work. They're over in ditches. They're dealing with sewers and everything, stuff like that. The work that people don't want to do, the work you don't have to go to college to do. So they deserve not only the praise of the Board of Supervisors, but they deserve to know that we care enough about them to show them by giving them an increase and making sure that they have a livable wage in order to do the job that they are being paid to do.
What is your position on the Hinds County Public Defenders? I know they're asking for money too.
Right.
Can you speak on that?
I can. The Hinds County Public Defender deserves a raise, and by law, and you're a lawyer, so you know this, we have to pay the public defender the same amount as we pay the district attorney.
To keep the scales balanced.
To keep the scales balanced.
Yes.
So one of the things that has not happened is that we've given the district attorney a little bit more than we've given the public defender, and what we're trying to do is to right that ship right now. We knew that the district attorney, when he came in, Jody Owens, he didn't have the tools that he needed in order to get things done. Well, we gave him some tools, and now the public defender is saying, okay, where are my tools? And so what we're trying to do is to come up with the money to make sure that they both have the same amount of tools in their toolbox in order to do the job that they need to do.
I think the key phrase there is money.
Yes.
How is Hinds County doing on its tax revenue? Or are we doing better? Are we doing worse? What is the position there financially?
Believe it or not, we did better during the years that COVID hit.
Is that from federal grants and aid?
We did better all the way around. We did better with grants. We did better with federal aid. We did better with people paying their taxes. More people paid their taxes, and this has surprised me as well, during COVID than they did when COVID is over or before COVID or in this period now, I guess we'd call post-COVID. And I believe it's because people didn't have anything else to do with their money, so they go, well, I might as well go down and pay my taxes. And they literally paid their taxes, and we did not have a deficit, which we thought that we were going to have after COVID. We never did, period.
What is your position on the $8 billion that the governor has that he has not spent for COVID funds? Is that number correct?
It's about $2 billion.
$2 billion.
$2 billion. And the thing is I think the governor's going to come around. The fact
right during his election time.
Well, during the election time, everyone has a change of heart during the election time, including me. But the fact is I feel like the governor is going to come around. We're going to try to meet a couple of supervisors. We're going to try to meet with him to let him know what we feel the board or the county needs. We have a lot of needs, and we feel like face-to-face interpersonal communications will work better than anything else when it comes to the governor. Just meeting with him, and it may not work, but at least we're going to meet with him and let him know what our needs are.
Delbert Hoseman and Philip, well, let me ask you over here, because I know he has to deal with these people. Do you believe Delbert, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break. I'm going to come back and ask Malcolm what he thinks about what the speaker's doing and Lieutenant Governor's doing for the metro area right after this break.
Okay.
Let's read and learn together. Meet Mason. Written by Sherry Tate. Illustrated by David. Mason is a young, inspired learner. Walk with him as he uses his 5 senses to explore the world around him. Your young one can learn to identify shapes, numbers, letters, and more with Meet Mason. Available now on Amazon.com.
am Q Talicia Garrett. I am here to introduce our New South Development and Training Outreach Hour every Tuesday at 2 p.m., giving you information on how to become a part of the programs through USDA and Farm Service Agency. We can be reached at 678-779-9468. We can also be found online at newsouthoutreach.com.
We are back. It's the Brent Hazzard Show. We have Malcolm Johnson, as always, and Supervisor Robert Graham. Malcolm, I was going to ask you, do you believe Philip Gunn and Delbert Hoseman, being citizens of the metro area or Hinds County, are they representing us accordingly?
That's a great question. I believe they're doing the best that they can do.
They can do physically and mentally, or they can do politically, being Republicans?
You just answered yourself. Doing the best they can do, being Republicans with another 150 other Republicans in the same building, and I think they're doing a wonderful job.
You and I will agree to disagree. Now, one of the projects I hear coming down, and I want your opinion, that I'm going to ask Supervisor Graham's, Leland Speed, when I hear One Lake, I think that was his project. And he's passed, but it's being, it's gotten finally federal funding. What is your position? Should we do the One Lake project, or is it going to help us? I've heard it's going to flood. I hear it's the rich people trying to take over Jackson. I hear the rich people are trying to put a casino on it. What is your position?
Well, my position is, number one, it will help with an economic boost, because that means there will be jobs. That means people that own dump trucks, people that own a crane, or people that got a shovel will have opportunity to help make money for their companies once they start digging this lake on both sides, because it's going to be a Rankin County side and Hinds County side, so it'll be an economic boost. And once the lake is dug and ready to start, then that'll give people an opportunity, like Jeff Good and others that want to put businesses. The next Sally Mookies may be where about.
Okay.
It may be right down that One Lake, right?
Supervisor, what is your position on the One Lake project? Are you for or against it?
Well, number one, you just took a right turn down my street. I am 100% for it, and for many reasons. Number one, I'm a board member. I'm on the board of the One Lake. It's called the Rankin-Hinds Flood Control District. Everyone looks at it as a lake. It's not a lake.
It's an expansion of the pre-existing river.
It's an expansion, but it's a little bit more than that. We had some of the best news that we've had over the last 2 months than we've had over the last 10 years, and that is the Army Corps of Engineers has set aside $200 million for this particular project. Now, we don't have the final sign-off yet. We feel like we're going to get the final sign-off, and we believe that they're going to actually give us enough to finish, which will be about another $200 million.
Sign-off from whom?
The Army Corps of Engineers,
okay.
The Secretary of the Army. Now, to explain it to the individuals that don't know, it's called the One Lake Project, but what's going to be done is very simple. It's simple and it's complicated. Let's put it that way. What they're going to do is take the river, and they're going to widen the river, and then they're going to deepen the river.
The Pearl River,
to where it can accept more water. Then they're going to move a weir. A weir is basically just a dam. Move it further downstream where the water will slow down and go to another level. So this is going to be done within the current confines of the two levees that are already there and that already exist.
Now, the dam that you referenced, does that exist at this point?
Yes.
It's moving it down.
Moving it down. It's a weir. Okay. And it's moving down. But to answer your question, all type of environmental studies have been done. It's not going to flood anyone in the south of Jackson. It's not going to flood anyone in South Jackson or Byram or Monticello. All of those particular studies have been done. It's going to benefit Rankin County, and it's going to benefit the city of Jackson. There's an economic benefit to both sides of the river, and there's a recreational benefit to both sides of the river. So it's going to benefit everyone. And in addition to that, the people at 142 River Rolling Wood will be the happiest of all because that's normally the first house that floods in the city of Jackson. We will go from several hundred homes being flooded to just under 5 or 8 homes being flooded as a result of us widening the river and deepening the river and slowing the water down.
What would be the economic benefits that Hinds County would see?
On the side of the river where Hinds County would be is the economic benefit would be businesses. You can build hotels, different types of businesses. It could be just like in San Antonio where they have a 4 or 5 block area where there is nothing but restaurants. You can build a restaurant row up and down the river. So there are a lot of different economic benefits that you can have by just giving people an opportunity. And it's also been proven, Brent, that anywhere there is a river, anywhere there is water that's accessible to people, businesses, homes, they flourish.
Is there anybody in Mississippi campaigning against it?
There's always going to be environmental groups that campaign against it because that's what environmental groups do. Okay. They get paid to protest. And so we've had a small amount of protests, not as much as we've had in the past. And I think it's because we have proven everyone wrong with our environmental studies, our environmental impact studies. We've studied this to death with the Corps of Engineers. The Corps of Engineers are just absolutely the best when it comes to building stuff. And they've told us, you're going to be able to slow the water down. And it's like I tell the people in North Jackson when I've had my meetings with them, there's certain things that you can do to keep burglars out of your house. There's certain technologies you can use, equipment you can buy, things of that nature. But when water wants to come into your home, there's no way you can keep the water out. Water is going to seek its own level. It's going to come into your house, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it, no matter how many sandbags you have. So we have got to get to the point to where we keep the water out of people's home in order to maintain a North and Northeast Jackson.
Now, when you mentioned dam before, are you talking about where the reservoir dam is? Or
No.
Okay, that's not moving.
That's not having anything to do with the reservoir. In fact, the reservoir is going to benefit from this because the reservoir will be able to release more water.
Okay.
So if the reservoir releases more water, that means it goes down into the flood control district, and the water is wider and it's deeper and it moves slower, and then when it gets to the weir it moves even slower, so it's not going to get into anyone's home.
Okay. Now, how has it been working with Rankin County?
Rankin County is on board. There are several board members. A supervisor from Rankin County is on the board. I'm on the board. The mayor of Flowood, the mayor of Jackson, the mayor of Pelahatchie, and the mayor of Pearl. We're all on the same board, which make up the Rankin-Hinds Flood Control District.
Are there more boards like that I'm just ignorant of, or is this one of the first ones to have that group together?
This is the first one that is specifically put together for this particular project, and making sure that the project is done correctly, and make sure that it benefits both sides of the river. We're not going to try to tell Rankin County what to do with their side of the river. They're not going to tell us what to do with our side of the river. But it is going to be a mutual benefit to both sides of both people on both sides.
But it would seem to me, our worst weakness or problem is small townitis.
Yes.
As long as I'm okay,
Yeah.
I don't care about you two.
You're right.
And then I forget that the way, if you go down and he goes down or he has crime, it's coming here next.
Right.
That's right.
Why don't we see more boards like that you just described, where you're right, Hinds County shouldn't tell Rankin County what to do and vice versa. But at some point there's got to be, an overseeing of, this aggregate.
Yeah. Well, I forgot to mention the mayor of Richland is on there. Richland South is on there, and we all get along.
Okay.
And we have good meetings. We are all working together for one common goal. So it's been a good experience for me to work with all of these mayors and making sure that we get the project moving. And right now, the project is further than it has ever been.
What would you like the citizens to do to push? Is there anything the citizens of Jackson or Hinds County can do to push the project across the finish line?
They can contact their congressman. We have had a tremendous amount of support from Roger Wicker, from Benny Thompson, from Cindy Hyde-Smith, and from Michael Guest. We've had a lot of support because they understand the big picture. They understand that this could change the face of the city of Jackson forever.
One of our listeners asked, you haven't mentioned the mayor of Jackson. Is he on board with the project?
Yes, he's there. He's one of the board members.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there any city or county that's not on board that you haven't mentioned?
There's a couple of cities in South Mississippi that are not on board because they have this belief that it's going to flood South Mississippi.
Okay.
Downstream.
And Pearl River.
Yeah, and then we had, Brent, a big issue that we were able to resolve. And it was an environmental issue that dealt with a frog. And
and people don't understand, the environmental groups usually do not just come in
right
and say you're going to hurt the trees or whatever. It's a species,
right?
And usually, like you see, I know the salmon up in the northwest has wrecked some projects,
right?
And they say if you do this, you'll eliminate this animal that no one really knew was there, or this insect.
And let me tell you what that animal is.
Okay.
It's called a ringed map frog, RINGED, map, MAP, frog.
Have you ever heard of that, Mr. Johnson?
Never heard of it.
And we were able to do environmental studies that the results came back that it was not going to harm or displace the frog, so we were able to move forward. But we had to do that.
Once again, but that was hearings upon hearings.
Yes.
That was studies upon studies.
That's correct.
Was not something
Brent,
easily done.
I wonder, is that frog green?
I don't even know.
Like the color of your shirt.
But, see, this is why I don't. That's why I don't over here. But anyway.
Ain't it strange, Graham, the day you talk about a frog? He had on a frog shirt.
Former co-host, Malcolm Johnson. Okay, now, for years when I've been here, when I hear One Lake, the next word is a casino needs to be put on it.
Yes.
Are y'all trying? Has that been discussed? Is that too further down? That's the Gaming Commission. And let me go ahead and say this to be fair. When 20 years ago, the gaming industry was booming. Now, because every other state has opened up casinos, I hear the Choctaws aren't doing that well. I hear Tunica's not doing that well because Memphis has it and people just don't want to drive here.
Right.
Has that come up in these conversations?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we have not discussed that. It's not been a part of any study. That's just people more or less wishful thinking, but it has not even been a part of the conversation.
What has been the part of the conversations that has been either rejected or accepted or added to it since when did you get on One Lake?
It's been about 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has it changed in those 5 years in any way besides basically the same premise?
It's the same premise,
Okay.
and basically the same goal in mind, and that is to open up the river on the Hinds County side for recreation, for boating, for an economic, to have some type of economic impact on that particular side of the river, which is Hinds County.
So you're talking about putting in boat trailers, or would it be something like that's in the reservoir, or what? What do you see?
Well, I can't really say at this particular point because nothing is finalized, nothing is done. These are just some of the ideas that have been talked about. But one of the things that we are specifically dedicated to is flood control.
Okay.
We're going to do the recreation. We're going to do the economics later. What we want to do first is to keep the water out of people's homes in Northeast Jackson. That's our number one goal.
Has that been a bigger problem with the melting or the higher temperatures, or is it getting worse? Or
I can't say other than the fact that we have had 6 floods since 1997. I think it was, I might have my years wrong, we had 97, 83, 2000, 2004, 2020, and then 2022. So we've had, since 1979, we've had water in residents' home in Northeast Jackson on 6 different occasions.
what percentage, if you know, or how many houses are we talking about flooding when the water gets high?
It depends upon whether you have a 28-foot river or 30-foot river, or as in 1979, you had a 35-foot river. If you're talking about a 35-foot river, you're talking about anywhere from 800 to 1,000 homes.
The construction, has there been any talked about hiring local or minority contracts with anything passed, or is that too early?
It's a little bit too early, but what we're planning on doing, if everything is finalized, when everything is finalized, to use individuals that are local, that has the expertise in order to get this done. It's not going to be a heavy lift because what they're going to do is once they widen the river and they deepen the river, the dirt and everything that they take out is going to be used to reinforce the current levee that we already have. So it's more or less reinforcing the levees that we have, giving a extra added layer of protection for people to keep water out of their homes.
Is Cindy Hyde-Smith behind it, or does she have a position?
The last I heard, her position is that she was behind it.
Okay.
But I can't speak for her, but we've not had as much opposition over this year as we've had in the years past. And I believe that's because we had the Undersecretary of the Army to come to the city of Jackson. We hosted him, it was about a month and a half, 2 months ago. And while he was here, he saw firsthand. It couldn't have happened at a better and a worse time, but it flooded while he was here. So he had an opportunity to see what happens and how it affects different people whenever water starts getting close to their house and getting in their streets. So he was able to see firsthand.
What was he here doing?
He was here to look at the river.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, and just so happened, it flooded while he was here. Yeah.
I'll tell you something else, Supervisor. We have a creek in Northeast Jackson that the state gave $2 million to. Well, you kind of explain that with the lake being built, how that water gonna flow out.
Well, one of the things that's happened, we've had a problem with an area of Northeast Jackson over on Carrollwood Drive.
That's right.
It's called White Oak Creek.
That's right.
And the legislature gave the Board of Supervisors $2 million to go in and to dredge and to dig out that particular part of Carrollwood Drive where it floods as well. We have people that live all up and down the 5900, 6000 block of Carrollwood where their backyard's caving in. So the state of Mississippi, thank you, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, and Speaker, they gave $2 million in order for us to start working on this project. In the meantime, the county applied for additional funds, and we learned at the beginning of the month that we received another $4 million for that particular project. So we have $6 million to get White Oak Creek done. They're in the analysis phase right now, and then they'll go from there to the design phase. But right now, we're just looking to see what we need to do. But we literally had individuals in that area of Northeast Jackson where their backyards were just literally caving in. So we have $6 million to get that handled.
That's good news there, Brent.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
It's very good. I mean, I'm of the nature, whether we're talking about the Jackson State Stadium, a possible new one, whether we're talking about the Hines County Detention Center, construction, while it might be a pain in driving, when you see people building,
Oh yeah.
consciously or subconsciously, you're thinking there's activity.
Right.
Downtown Jackson, and I mean, our office is down there, but I mean, it is empty. And I mean, it just sends a negative feel, and because while Madison is growing, Clinton's growing, Rankin's growing, nobody has that downtown structure. And we need it in the metro area.
We definitely need that. And one of the things I had the opportunity afforded to go to different conferences and learn different things about your downtown area and how to eliminate individuals from leaving and just evacuating from downtown areas. And that is making sure that there are places in downtown for people to live. The premise is that when people start to live downtown, your downtown is on its way back. When people start to live, then you're going to start seeing restaurants, then you're going to start seeing grocery stores, then drugstores, because the people are there. So people in the city of Jackson, they've started to move downtown. All those old warehouse buildings down from where your office is, those old warehouses, they are now, some of them are residents, and people are living. And on Saturday you can go downtown and you don't see a lot of people, but you see 1 or 2 runners, you see 3 or 4 runners, you see people out walking. But we do know from our economic development department that there are no vacancies in the downtown area as it relates to apartments.
Interesting. We're going to take a break right now and come back with the supervisor, Malcolm Johnson, right after these messages.
Let's read and learn together. Meet Mason. Written by Sherry Tate. Illustrated by David. Mason is a young, inspired learner. Walk with him as he uses his 5 senses to explore the world around him. Your young one can learn to identify shapes, numbers, letters, and more with Meet Mason. Available now on Amazon.com.
Advertise on WeBelieve.global, a brand new digital media platform. Share your brand with our audience on our many global live stream TV broadcasts and over the radio. For more info, visit WeBelieve.global or call 800-492-5186, option 1.
We're back with the Brent Hazzard Show with Malcolm Johnson and our guest, Supervisor Robert Graham. Malcolm, this weekend, the first time ESPN Game Day will be on in the city of Jackson and attending a Jackson State game. You going?
Yes, it's my plan, sir. We going.
Well, let me go ahead and say it. I'll put it out there. He invited me to the game last week, and I said, "Oh no, I'll go. I'll check it out. I need to go support local." Yeah. Then I realized I hate crowds, and then game day announced, and I haven't been to an Ole Miss game in 10 years. Wow. I went to a Saints playoff game when they played the Eagles. I was like, I need to get the heck out of here. I enjoy going to things. I do not enjoy crowds, and then I'll get in a game and I have to walk. I have to walk around, and are we as a city and county of city of Jackson, county of Hinds County, Jackson State, are we going to be smart enough to take advantage of this opportunity?
We had to wait to Saturday and see. You know, Deion said last week he wanted no shooting in the city. He said no.
But that's not the coach's job. When game day,
he said
no.
He said no Friday, no Saturday,
but what I'm
and
saying
damn if Sunday they didn't go to shoot.
Well, powers that be have to say, y'all better make sure no one spits on Jackson State. You know, this is a infomercial for an hour. Supervisor, what does Jackson State football means to the county? Does it mean anything to the county? Is it being overhyped?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
And the reason being is because we see the residual effect of what Deion Sanders does and what he means to Hines County. He can walk into places and those places just come alive. He can bring in different personalities. As you know, some of the personalities, Snoop Dogg was there. Rick Ross. The
Yellow Breeze.
The
Valley
cast
P.
of P-Valley.
P-Valley.
was here. And,
Do you watch that show, Grant?
No, sir.
Okay, Brent.
And the thing is...
I hear good things, but no, sir.
The thing is that he changes the conversation. He changes the mood. He makes people that are around the university know that the university has a certain level of competency regarding the program.
That's right.
And regarding the individuals that he has brought along with him. When he had the nerve and the audacity to put Travis Hunter on offense, I said, this guy really understands and he wants to win at all costs.
But do we understand, as Mississippians or Jacksonians or whatever you say, the work, the vision, the sacrifice? Sometimes I think we just say, well, you know, he's here and he's going to stay here forever, no matter what we do.
Right.
A bad situation, let me tell everybody out there, a bad situation this weekend would be the first thing they'll run him away from here.
Right.
Do we understand that?
Yes. We understand it, and the Sheriff's Department, they are actually working with the Capitol Police, with the University Police. You have several other police departments that are normally not associated with a game that will be here to work security and to work inside the stadium, outside the stadium to make sure things go right. I think the last thing that people should worry about are incidents inside of the stadium or outside of the stadium. As far as I know, and I was at the game last week, and I did not hear anything, did not see anything, didn't see people flying over. I
haven't heard of an incident. The worst thing I heard, and this was years ago, they had some people breaking in the cars.
Yeah.
But that was, I think, at the first year he was here, and they stopped that.
Yeah.
And hopefully they understand. Because Alabama... When Alabama first got Saban, I think their law school was like 66 or something. It's now top 17 because of all the football money.
Right.
And they don't have a medical school.
Right.
So you use football to, help the engineering department. You use football to help the business department.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know.
Let me just tell you that we did something. Let me just tell you another effect that Deion Sanders has brought to Jackson. This weekend, the game was at 2.
Okay.
I know people that started getting ready for the game at 7 o'clock that morning.
Oh, no, look, at Primo's, at Broad Street.
Yes.
I mean, everybody would see people wearing their colors and getting ready for the game.
Yes.
People are driving in, like you said.
Right.
And you can tell they're spending money in Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Instead of just coming in for the game or, hey, I'm going to watch it on TV and stuff like that. Does the county have a position on building a stadium for Jackson State?
Yes, we've already passed a resolution to let the legislature know that if they decide to fund it, that we would support it. We've looked at some areas. The president of Jackson State took me on a tour to where he showed me his vision of where the stadium could be. They already pretty much know where the stadium could be.
Is that on campus?
It's near campus. Near campus.
Okay.
Will be, I guess you could call it just off campus, but within walking distance.
And that's what you need to get the kids or get the tailgating right.
Right.
And I've heard some criticism where the older citizens want to keep it the way it is.
Right.
And I mean, that's what they knew. That's
Right.
what they grew up with.
Right.
Sentimentality's huge. But to get those students
Mm-hmm.
and to get that game day atmosphere, you need the people walking from the dorms.
Right.
You need, and it's a great education. People, I didn't realize this. Go to the game. Hey, son, that's chemistry over there.
Yeah.
Hey, son, when you come here next year, that's biology building.
Right.
That's where you're going to take algebra.
Right.
And I mean, that's how people get to know campuses.
Right.
Now, do you think Dion's going to stay here past next year?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball, but I do believe that he is going to finish his commitment
Okay. And your understanding of his commitment is?
until his contract runs out.
Okay.
And
When's that, Brent?
I am not sure.
Next year.
Next year.
Guess
Yeah.
what?
What?
My predicament is, I got a crystal ball, Graham.
Okay.
I believe Mississippi State gonna fire their coach
No.
halfway through the season
No.
next year.
No.
Man, I'm talking to this booster from Mississippi State every day, and he is hoping that they fire Leach in the middle of the season next year and make Brent Hazzard the coach to finish.
Let's just stay. Well, no,
You know they weird people though.
No, I know that. Now, look,
They tow cowbells.
I went to state for a semester, but no, look, let me just go ahead and say this to Jackson State, and I'll go ahead and ask you too. Well, let me ask you, Jackson State, if they get an invitation to another conference, are they betraying the SWAC by leaving?
They won't leave the
No,
SWAC.
they won't leave the
They're
SWAC.
not gonna leave the SWAC because they know Dion won't be there that much longer. That's common
Well,
sense.
it's too much history.
Yeah.
And they would never do that.
Oh, I'm gone. I'm telling you right now, I am gone, and I'll tell you why. Greenville, Mississippi, Brent grew there. Excuse me, born in New Orleans. Love the Delta. There's certain forces you can't stop.
Right?
And whatever happened to the Delta, and we can get into it, or on another show, you couldn't stop it. And I was telling people, I got to go.
Yeah.
I got to go. And to me, while there might be schools in the SWAC, I'll go ahead and name them. Mississippi Valley is not coming back. And you got to get the money. I mean, let's be honest. Jackson State. My frustration with Jackson State is they're not going for a national championship. I mean, I'm
Right.
talking about
Right.
years ago.
Right.
Two, you're averaging before Dion, what was it, in the high 30s? Now it's 40,000.
I say 25 before Dion.
Yeah.
No, I think it was
Yeah.
higher than that. But they
Well,
were
30,
the number
30.
one FCS.
Yeah, 30.
Other schools in the SWAC aren't doing that.
Well, the reason why there's a reason why that is
Okay.
because their stadiums are not
Correct.
can't hold
Yeah.
the capacity. They don't have the capacity.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, at what point does this? I mean, we could be talking about Nebraska leaving the Big 12. We could be talking about UCLA and the USC saying deuces to the Pac-10.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, hey, we need to get, because to me, the Sun Belt, where you're playing the Louisiana. Now, I've heard some people say the ACC. Now, we go ahead and look at this camera and say Jackson State will get destroyed in the ACC. Slow your roll. But if you go Division I, you have a natural rivalry with USM. You got Louisiana Tech, Louisiana. I know you're gonna lose. You can keep them on the rotation.
Brent, we averaged 32,000 before Dion
Okay.
and 42,000 since Dion.
Yeah, and I mean it's still leading.
Yeah.
And it's not. I don't.
And it'll be 60,000 for the Southern Gangs.
Oh yeah, no.
That's why I'm taking you.
Well, 60,000 gives me anxiety. Let me hit you. We're running out of time. Let me hit you some quick questions.
Okay.
County's roles in potholes. Do you have one?
Do we have a what?
A
now?
role fixing the potholes.
Yes, we're doing the majority of potholes in the city of Jackson and Hines County right now.
How's that?
We just working with the city of Jackson, and the city of Jackson, they've lost so many individuals. They've lost half of the people on their pothole crews. So what we decided was to take up the mantle, and we started fixing potholes about 5 years ago from the county standpoint. We've been fixing potholes. We got $2 million to do paving roads. We're paving roads in North Jackson as I speak. We're paving Christian Drive. We're paving Lake Trace. We're paving River Thames. We're going to pave Meadowbrook. We're going to pave Briarwood. All of that is Hines County. And all of the potholes in North Jackson over the last 2 years have been done by the county.
Does it seem like the county is having to supplement for the city? Is that, I mean,
Well, we're supplementing, but we're supplementing because it's our call, it's our duty. We don't gain anything by Jackson not succeeding, so we need to help Jackson to succeed. And if that means filling potholes, that's what we do.
are you doing anything in the works with the hospital? To me, there's 4 real assets of Jackson. Now, obviously, Hinds County, you got MC, but when you're talking about Jackson, you got to talk about Jackson State, and then you got to talk about the 3 hospitals: Baptist, St. Dominic's, and then
Merritt's.
4: Merritt's, UMC, Jackson's. Baptist, St. Dominic's. Does the county have any plans on doing any? Are y'all working with the hospitals, or is there anything in the works for that? Or
We're working with Merritt right now, because there have been rumors that they are going to try to leave. But we're doing everything that we possibly can to work with them to make sure that they have the resources to where we can keep them here. We need a hospital in the South Jackson area. Merritt's been around a long time. They signed a long lease with the Board of Supervisors. We've honored that particular lease, and we're going to continue to honor that, and we're going to continue to work with them.
some friends of mine told me there was a couple of deals on the table that fell apart between the hospitals. I don't know if Merritt was involved or not. I know St. Dominic's, UMC, and Baptist were talking about forming some sort of cancer clinic where St. Dominic's and Baptist would be treating, UMC would be research. Would that be something the county would be interested in if that could get going? Or
we're interested in anything that will keep businesses here. That will be part of the medical corridor, what you're talking about. Yes, and now they have not been able to get that up and running yet, but if it is able to get up and running, when people use Hinds County and the city of Jackson as the medical capital of the state of Mississippi, then we're on to something.
what is going on with the supervisors of the county that we might not know about that you think needs some attention?
The fact that we're working hard, we're applying for grants, we're going to Washington 2 or 3 times a year, begging for money, not asking, begging. We want to eliminate flooding in Northeast Jackson. We want to pave as many streets as we possibly can. We are trying to get bridges repaired. We get twice a year, we get internet sales tax money. And that's helped us out a lot in order to get that to fix roads and bridges. It's dedicated for bridges only, so we're able to fix some of the bridges. Almost every bridge in Hinds County has been condemned, and so we're having to take any bridge that you see that has a wood pylon, we're having to take those pylons out and put concrete. So we have a lot of work to do, and especially when it comes to bridges.
Ladies and gentlemen, in 2022, when you don't have a lot of adults in the room, when you're talking about politics, Supervisor Graham is an adult. You might agree with him, you might disagree with him, but he's logical, he's intelligent. Thank you for your service.
No, thank you.
Thank you for coming. Okay. Malcolm, last words.
Well, what time you going to be ready Saturday morning at 2 a.m.? We got to go to game day.
Malcolm Johnson, the daughter.
We going to game day,
when
man.
you talking about game day, you got to get out at 2 a.m.
Yeah, you
I ain't going to be out in Jackson at 2 a.m. It's the Brent Hazzard Show. We'll see y'all next week. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. You need to come back.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been fun.